Today, we finally do our deep dive into Resident Evil Requiem. What did we think about one of the biggest games of the year so far? How does it fare on Switch 2 compared to other platforms? And is it the best Resident Evil yet? We'll discuss all of that and more because this is Podcasting with Power. Welcome to Podcasting with Power, your source for Nintendo and video game news, reviews, and deep dive discussions. I'm Zachary Davis, and that's Jordan Carlson, and we're here to talk all about Resident Evil today. I'm so stoked. Before we get started, though, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment about the show, and follow us on social media at Pod with Power. All the links you need are in the show description. You've finally done it. It was a long time coming, and that's okay. I encouraged you to take your time. I feel like you don't believe me. I feel like you think I'm frustrated with you that it's taken this long. And that's not true. It truly isn't, because I wanted you to enjoy this game. I know how stoked you were for this game, just as I was.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You have completed Resident Evil Requiem on PC, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you think? Like, I just want your like gut answer. Like, give me a little overview of what you think about Resident Evil Requiem.
Do you want me to tell you like my overall opinion? Like, you want me to get right to it, whether or not I liked it?
Yeah, just give us good, the bad, and the ugly.
I loved it.
Okay.
I really loved it.
Very cool.
I think it is the most interesting Resident Evil we've had in a long time.
Okay.
A long time. I think that the gameplay was extremely diverse.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed how they played on those perspectives throughout the game. I do think that there's a lot of opportunity there still.
Okay.
And I'm excited to kind of speak on some of those details with you, but overall, I really enjoyed the game. It was so much fun. And I'm already excited to play it again. In fact, I've already started playing it again. So
see, I have not started a second playthrough yet. I would like to at some point. I have questions to ask you about that later on. But so we talked about you played this on PC. Amanda played a little bit of it, at least on Switch 2. Did she get through it as well?
She did not, but I got to I carried her a little bit further because I wanted to see more of the Switch 2 version. So I went back and played through it a little bit, but she got pretty far. I'm trying to remember where we ended up, or where she last ended up. She completed the East Wing. I think actually she had just left probably the healthcare facility. I can't remember what it was called.
Okay. Yeah.
And was just about to get on that portion where the helicopter's outside and then you go in the other building.
Yeah.
I think actually that's where we left off.
Okay, cool. So that's a pretty big chunk. So yeah, I played the entirety of this game on Switch 2. And I've mentioned in weeks past that like it is just a no compromise experience. Like, it is a perfect Switch 2 port. It's kind of amazing. Even playing Pragmata now, like, you know, that one's not quite as amazing. It's a pretty good port as well. But like Resident Evil Requiem is some magic on Switch 2. And I have no desire to play it anywhere else. You know, if I replay it, I will replay it on Switch 2.
Wow.
I don't regret that decision at all. How did you play this game? And by that, I mean, like, did you play in big chunks? Did you play in the dark? Did you play at night? You know, I know you played alongside Amanda, so I know that part.
Yeah, there was one point where I recorded myself playing where Amanda wasn't there, but she was only okay with it because I recorded it, so we could go back, and I had cut on CapCut the cutscenes for her.
I did something similar with Spider-Man 2. I remember Kali was watching me play a lot of that game, and she fell asleep at my apartment, and I just every time it would be a cutscene, I would just make sure I was hitting record and had to string it all together for her.
Dude, I know, it's amazing because like I haven't even mentioned that I'm replaying Requiem, honestly, when we talk about like games we've played, but like here and there, I'll just kind of put some time into it again. Okay. And I'm already at the east, like halfway through the east wing.
Sure.
Yeah. On my own. But no, anyway, so mostly played on, so this is kind of funny, but because Amanda wanted to watch me sitting at my computer, you know, there is a pretty big comfortable chair, like right down there. But like sitting in my office, it's pretty small in here.
Okay.
So like there were a couple times where I was like, Amanda, look, like I'm trying to play on my big widescreen, like get my full graphical fidelity out of this thing.
Sure.
You know, and so you got to come in my office if you want to watch. So she would, but I would say a majority was spent in the living room with my laptop docked to the TV.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. Very nice. I brought the Switch 2 dock upstairs to our living room, and that's where I played through it. You obviously played through it over several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
How did you like that experience?
I liked it. I think taking your time is a lot of fun. It was a little slower pace than I like to go on these type of games because I like to be in the moment of the story. Like, it's fun when you're in a, you know, maybe like I don't want to say like high stress, but a high tension part of the story. So you kind of feel that as you're kind of running through the halls or, you know, like, so I like to stay in it.
Sure.
Especially like, you know, in that back half, it was hard to kind of take such a long break because that last stretch, which I think we will probably both have a lot to say. As Leon, I'm not talking about when you're in the final facility, but like in the streets of Raccoon City. There was a lot of like tension and throwback and like emotion. And so stretching that out so much kind of took the emphasis out of some of those callbacks.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
You know, so like I feel like some of that didn't hit me as hard as maybe it could have. But still, you know, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I rushed through it, but like I did devour this game. I played through it, you know, in that weekend, and then, you know, a couple extra days, and yeah, I could not get enough of this game. It is all I wanted to do until it was done. Like it was excellent, and I think like to me, like I had a lot of hype going into this one. And Resident Evil is one of those up and down franchises. It's had some excellent games. It's had some dog shit games, like, you know. And I let myself get pretty hyped for this one. I think you did too. Mm-hmm. I think it lived up to it, in my opinion.
I think so.
I said, I wasn't disappointed in this at all, and it sounds like you weren't either.
No, I wasn't. Truthfully, I mean, if we're really just going to break this thing open, you want to just start breaking this thing down?
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
I don't know if you have I never know where to go because I don't want to get ahead of myself if you've got like a kind of a roadmap.
Oh, no, I'm bouncing all around. We're
bouncing?
Good. Yeah. We should discuss, do we want to get into specifics? Do we want to save that for later? Or do we just want to say right now we're talking Resident Evil Requiem?
I can go a little, I can keep it a little high level.
Okay.
Because when we're talking about how great the game is, and I'm not hating on the dynamic, I just praised that part. So like I'm not retracting that at all. But I do feel like that first couple of chapters of the game where that was where we really peaked. I would say when you leave the healthcare facility, I feel like that was really the survival horror in that area was pretty top tier for me. I really enjoyed that. It was so unpredictable in some way. I'm not saying the story was unpredictable, but the gameplay, you know, and like what it was going to make you do.
There were surprises for sure. Yeah.
And man, that first area with the girl.
Yep.
Like I know that's the area that was probably spoiled the most before everybody got into that game, but like just that opening sequence was just genius, man. And I mean, like it was predictable to a point, of course, but like I loved how constantly you get to an area that you think is a safe area, which I know there's ways in Resident Evil to know that it's a safe area. So I wasn't completely fooled, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it was something new. And the lights would go out in the room you thought you were safe, and you're like, oh, okay, great.
Yep. Yeah. Like, oh, we gotta run. Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here. And like it constantly kind of gave you a new like, oh shit, like moment where you had to figure out what was next. Where's your next area? And like how close quarters that first area was, it didn't leave a lot of like, I didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know.
Yeah.
You just had to go find it. And like that created desperation kind of when you're seeking a place to get your bearings, figure out where your heading is. And like that's what created the horror. You knew she was creeping around, when she was going to pop out. It was awesome. Like that whole part was just fantastic.
No, I feel that. I think that's something really interesting that you think the game peaked there. And I thought that sequence was excellent. You spend a lot of time there. But I think
after,
it kind of... Oh, go ahead.
Not like the first part with the girl. I'm talking like...
just that whole area, yeah.
Yeah, the whole area. Yeah.
But I think that kind of highlights... I think we both we approach Resident Evil from different angles, right? Mm-hmm. I think you love Biohazard, for example, which is a very different Resident Evil than my favorite, which is 4. Those are radically different games, right? And so I think it's telling that, like... For you, that section, of course, that was peak. I mean, that you see a lot of that DNA in there, literally and figuratively. But whereas I liked the sequence that you mentioned later in the game with Leon in Raccoon City, I loved walking through all that and dealing with all of the things that came with that. So I think this game it's going to satisfy fans of both sides of Resident Evil.
Yeah,
it's basically both of the good Resident Evil angles and none of the bad, which is 6. We don't need to talk about that one because there's not a whole lot of that. I did see some criticism that, the combat might get a little heavy at times and people felt like it was going in that direction. I never felt that way. Like it was too much, too overwhelming. But I will say I enjoyed the stealth kind of Grace sections more than I expected to. So I think that's a testament to how well both sides of this game are designed.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, like, I did enjoy that second piece. It's just... I don't know. It's just the environment. Like, I loved going back. It was so worth the moments where you call back to Resident Evil 2 and 3.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that is where the fun is for me personally, when it is the references that you see and where you're tying things into the whole scope of everything. Like that was the fun of those sections for me. And it's sad in a lot of ways, obviously. And honestly too, like the whole time I was like, are they gonna kill Leon?
Yeah. I mean, that's a very real question. Yeah, I think you're right. So you liked the gameplay, we talk about the gameplay of Grace versus the gameplay of Leon and how different they are. Did you still enjoy the way Leon controlled? Did it feel very jarring or
look,
did it kind of feel natural?
Biohazard might be one of my favorite games, which of course obviously is not with Leon. That's Ethan Winter's whole saga. But I love Resident Evil 4 also. The remake for Resident Evil 4 was fantastic. I love that. Yeah. Love the original. It's a staple for the Resident Evil series. But so playing as Leon was just a ton of fun. And they did such a good job showing just the display of power that you have as him versus that of Grace. And it's not even just in that I really enjoyed, but when you share an area between the two. So if you already cleaned up as Grace, you go back as Leon. It was very fun to me that whatever you left behind would be available to Leon.
I like that as well. Yeah.
And did you ever find yourself making decisions after you figured that out? You're like, I will leave this for me later. Or I'll leave this for Grace.
There was an instance, you're right, where once I became aware of it, I was like, okay, we're gonna save that.
Yeah, we'll leave that one behind.
Yeah.
Just gonna need some herbs.
Yeah. And I mean that's the thing, like this game is really good, again, without going into specifics, like this game is really good about giving you opportunities to be like, can I do that? will the game let me do that? Because a lot of games won't, right? Like, and if you've played, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And I'm happy to say that Resident Evil Requiem lets you do it. And that's pretty cool. Did you feel like the game leaned too hard into either style, or that you spent too much time? Because it is, you're right. You're switching back and forth, but there is a big long section where you're Grace. There's a big long section where you're Leon. Like, do you wish that was spread out a little more? Do you wish it was divvied up more? Like, honestly, or did the balance work?
I thought the balance worked. I wasn't sure until later on, because I remember reading that you spend an equal amount of time as either one. Yeah. But obviously it's very heavy Grace for a long time. So you're wondering, like, when will my time as Leon come? Like
the first time, like after you're introduced to Leon, the next time you see Leon, I felt like it was a very long time.
It was.
Yeah.
And I mean, you really did a lot as Grace. Yeah. And like, now looking back, you kind of understand like how much they had to explain, or how much you had to kind of experience as Grace before you were ready to be Leon. Because like nothing meant anything to you yet, or not as much.
Well, and I think they want to scare you, right? And then let you come in as Leon, and you feel like you have power and you can, take these things on. Like, I like
give you a chance. Like, come back. Like, let you give you a chance now with these guys.
Although as Grace, I went a little hard in the paint. I definitely went after somebody I probably shouldn't have as Grace, not realizing I would have the opportunity to go after them as Leon. And I got him.
Was it Chunk?
No, it wasn't Chunk. The other, one of the other roaming bad guys in that first area. But yeah, I mean, so like, let's talk about the level design and kind of that loop, right? So we've talked about the healthcare center. There's obviously the hotel where you start in the beginning of the game, which I thought was a nice opening. I thought it was condensed enough that it, kind of contained things, but, it was still interesting and kind of introduced you to how this game is played. We've talked about Raccoon City. There are some other things, again, too, that maybe we won't name specifically, but like level design, like how do you feel? Because I liked how interconnected certain areas felt. Yeah, I liked that it was almost Metroidvania, that I'm going over here, I'm unlocking that thing, then I'm coming out here, and then I can get that. And it's like, it felt like I was rewarded for traversing the same area over and over.
See, I very much felt like I can't say stole from that. It's all the same series, but like that was very much how Biohazard and Village worked, where it's like you do so much. There's a lot of overlap between the areas. You'll find something sometimes that's important for progression. You'll go back and know, oh my God, here's the key I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's little extras that if you remember, oh, I can go back. That's right. And I can do this. Like, it's cool how much overlap there is, and they reward players for being curious and continuing to explore. I really like the level design. I felt like the mansion was so lived in, so realistic, like how everything was laid out. I like that the cutscenes really made sense, like the story and how they decided to tell it across the mansion. Like, it was interesting. I mean, there's always that, that Resident Evil feel of like, there are things that don't make sense, but that's what we love because it's Resident Evil and they love to do it. Like all the jokes of like the notes where they're like, it'll be like, man, Carrie came over this morning and she was wondering where I left my syringes. Good thing I put that gun in the safe underneath
I love that kind of stuff. I like the ones that are just like someone taking the time to just be like, what the fuck is happening? Like, you sat down and wrote that on a piece of paper and put it in this drawer. Like, why?
They're like, today was bring your kid to work day. I've put a shit ton of fucking gunpowder in the in the drawer upstairs in the science lab.
Yeah.
Or the people that are like, we've done it. We've finally done it.
I know. Like, because you know what the next one's gonna be. The next note is always like, oh shit, it's out. It got out.
Or it's like the time, the ones logging like the progression of something. They're like they're like showing small signs of infection. Only successful case. And then the next week they're like continuing progression. And then they're like, I can't stop him. He's too much. He's in, like the embalming chamber number 3. And then as soon as you set that note down, it's like,
I know. I love it though. It's great. You know what's gonna happen, but it's excellent. Overall, I love that loop of exploring a new area. Things maybe don't make sense.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some crazy combat encounter. What about the resource management? How stressful was that? Because that's always something that stresses me out in survival horror games, and this one I think does a good job of balancing it, because
they do.
Grace feels like traditional Resident Evil, and Leon again feels kind of like Resident Evil 4, and you've got more room, but like it was still stressful on both sides. I think
I was like, when we were playing one of the times, with the first time I think I opened Leon's inventory, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I like look at, and Amanda was like, well, look at all his fucking tactical pockets.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. He's got all that space.
Like
runs out very quickly though, turns out.
It does.
Yeah. Because it felt like so much at the beginning.
It still is a little wild how much you can carry as Leon versus Grace.
Sure.
I'm over there trying to carry a little blood collector. I'm like, can I?
Yeah. By the last time you're playing as Grace, it is like, this is it. This is all I could carry. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
How many fanny packs am I going to wear?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then kind of. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna get into the inventory stuff. Like, I feel like they spaced out ammo just right. I was a little concerned because honestly, sometimes it gets a little wild at not having ammo. Like, which I know adds to the how challenging the game is, but it's like there have been times in Resident Evil games where I'm like, okay, but I need something. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like I didn't run into that too often, but I was watching it very carefully. I was like, I know if I slip up and don't pay attention to this, I'm gonna fuck myself. Like I need to be on top of my ammo management in particular,
like
whether
the
you're making it or whatever. Like, yeah,
I was like, I'm not firing this gun unless I absolutely have to. Like,
I know
my last resort. This gun.
Sometimes Kali be like, "Why are you going after him that way?" I'm like, I can't waste the bullet. No. I know I could. I know it'd be easy, but like I can't bring myself to do it.
As soon as I got the recipe for the Requiem ammunition off the side of that one room in the East Wing, I was like, finally, like, oh my God. And then it's just funny. You're like, another funny Resident Evil thing. It's like, how do I make it with blood?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So the Requiem, which is a weapon in this game, for those that don't know, and seems to be what the game is named after.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, by the way? Like very early on, you're like, "Here's my gun, the Requiem," and you're like, "Okay, cool."
The Requiem.
This is going to mean something, and then it doesn't really mean anything. It's just there. I left it in my inventory most of the time. I didn't really use it.
You didn't use the Requiem at all?
Hardly.
Even you didn't kill Chonk with it? Because I did that immediately.
No, I didn't do that.
You let that guy fucking slurp around.
So he is one I kind of mentioned earlier, like the not being sure if you can or can't do things. I didn't even think to try to kill him.
Oh.
Never even occurred to me until I went into work and someone told me that they did it this way and someone else did it that way. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about trying. Yeah. Like,
Dude,
one of the other ones I just kind of wondered and it worked. And so I was like, oh, cool. But when I play through it again, I'm definitely going to try. Hi. We are not recording this at the same time as the rest of the episode because Mr. Carlson over here lost power. Video watchers will notice he's wearing headphones. That's a symptom of the power surge that he experienced the other night. So we're going to pick up our Resident Evil conversation the best that we can. We've kind of found our place and we're going to do our best to do a little more Resident Evil content for you. So where we last left off, Jordan, we were talking about Chunk and that I didn't know you could kill him. You did know that. But specifically, you were talking about when he popped out at you. And I asked about the set pieces of this game, those kind of scripted, scary moments. And honestly, that is a question I wanted to ask you. Like, how afraid did this game actually make you? Was this a scary experience for you?
Oh, man. Honestly, a little bit. Like, I think that when you're especially when you're playing as Grace. When you're playing as Leon, it wasn't so.
Yeah, that's valid.
You know, and I mean, I actually played third person for both Leon and Grace.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, I didn't have this pulled up this time, but I did have it pulled up last time we talked about this. I actually have some stats as far as how people played this game, camera-wise.
Yeah.
Are you curious about how that went?
I am.
Yeah. So it looks like... So the game, of course, recommends that you play third person when you're playing as Leon and first person when you're playing as Grace. So did you just say you played the entire game third person?
I did. Mm-hmm.
I did as well.
Oh.
Yeah. That's kind of... I prefer that, but it's also a Kali thing. She cannot watch stuff in first person without it making her motion sick. So
okay.
Since she watched, most of the ride, I just played it in third person, which is great. But apparently 90% of players played Leon's scenario in third person mode, while 60% experienced Grace's in first person. 40% of those people played it in third person as well.
Okay.
I want to know who the badasses are that are playing as Leon in first person.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The amount that you are spinning around and flipping people over, like that has got to be a crazy experience.
I can't have it. That's jarring. That'd be extremely jarring.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Leon, like they said, like everybody's said, you're meant to play his in third person just with how much action you have going. And honestly, playing as Grace in first person would have been, I think, quite obviously more scary, but I enjoy a lot of horror games in third person. I just like third person in general. It doesn't really have anything to do with it being more scary in first person. It's just that I like to see my character. I like to enjoy, this sounds kind of odd because we talked about graphical fidelity and how hair, especially in the RE engine, is such a big piece. It's cool to see all the details of your character. So I really enjoy playing in third person for those reasons. So I can kind of just enjoy the atmosphere a little bit more and the character that you're playing as. But regardless, I don't have any problem being immersed in that story and in the horror. I still have just as good of a time. I still get just as nervous. Obviously maybe the jump scares aren't as, crazy, but for me it's just it didn't take away from anything, I don't think, and I've played my fair share of first person horror games. I don't mind it, but no, man, it was pretty spooky. If you play in the dark, some of those areas can be a little high tension.
That first Friday that it came out, it was raining here, and so I started it that night. After work, I started it and I hear the rain on the roof and I'm like, oh my God, this is very immersive. But no, I think you hit the nail on the head. I obviously played it at a much lower visual fidelity than you did, playing it on the Switch 2 versus PC. And I still felt like it did a good job of being scary, and you're right. I think as Grace, that stuff hits a little harder. As Leon, you kind of just feel prepared for it. And, I kind of know what I'm going to do as Leon. As Grace, there's some problem solving that needs to happen when something pops out at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do. I think this is a scarier game. I've talked about Resident Evil 4 and how much I love that. That's not a very scary game overall.
Yeah, no.
It's very action focused, and that's fine. It's great, but it's not that kind of Resident Evil. And we've talked so much about how this game blends those two things so well, and I think this is a great example of it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
While we're kind of on the subject, let's talk a little bit about the visual fidelity of it. And I'm going to kind of roll out the carpet for you because you did play it with all the bells and whistles. Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Pretty game? Not pretty.
It was very pretty game. Okay. Right from the opening, I feel like they do that very intentionally though. When you play through an opening sequence, it's raining and because it's when you film movies, they like to have the streets wet. They like to have, to show that detail and the reflection and make it a little bit more visually appealing. So that opening sequence was pretty cool. Walking down the street, going down the alleyway. It's you start off with all these people around you and it kind of very slowly isolates you and gets you away from the crowd. And then you start to, it's not even just like the visual stuff. It's also when you start to get the audio cues, it starts to get a little bit more quiet. You start to hear some of the noises happen, you know. And I mean, if you're playing in a pretty immersive setup and you have, you know, your sound settings in the right way, like it really puts you there, you know what I mean? But I mean, visually though, like we were kind of saying, like how Grace's hair looks and Leon too, you know, the clothes, you know, the movements too. I mean, I think I was reading that on the Switch, there's actually some of the like Leon's kick that's cut out, like for just memory in general. Like there's small things that they've edited in the characters and like how they operate to make things easier on lower end hardware, which was cool. I'm trying to
think, because like you definitely have like a, you know, when they're stunned, you can do a move, but is it a kick? It's a kick in Resident Evil 4, so I can like see Leon doing it.
Yeah,
now I'm second guessing whether or not he does that. There's
something he kicks, but I'm saying there's I read somewhere there's like, I should have had this pulled up. I just thought of this while we were talking, but I read somewhere that some of the motion is cut short or done differently on the Switch or, you know, whatever, versus when you're playing on like a higher end, you know, higher graphical fidelity. And I think that's great. I think that's really cool because it's like you're finding ways to not cut corners, but to make it more enjoyable, to have less stutter, to have less slowdown, lose the immersion. It's cool to investigate things like that. And it's kind of nice that they took the time to do things like that to make it function the way that they'd like it to, or to give people that experience. But no, it was worth it. I am surprised too, as I'm going back through and I've started it again. I haven't got very far, but as I've kind of started it off again, you know, kicking it off on the Legion and just kind of seeing how that goes, especially with like, you know, having the same options that you would if you were playing on a full PC through Steam, seeing how it does on a handheld like that. And honestly, it does really well. It does much better than I'd expect it to.
Yeah.
I think the only gripe that I have on my end is I would have loved to have played this on a proper OLED, you know?
Sure.
Like that would be just to get that extra, like those dark blacks, you know?
Yeah.
That would be incredible. But unfortunately, I don't have that for my PC setup. So, but I mean, either or, it was a beautiful game and really just, I loved it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think when I bought this on Switch, you know, the big draw, of course, is having the ability to play your games in a portable handheld way. I didn't do that even once with this game. I was pretty impressed with the docked, you know, fidelity and performance here. I think I had mentioned before, right around the time the game came out, I had exactly one like weird framey moment where I used a zip line, and as I was going across it, the game went to single digit frames per second. And I landed and the game recovered, and that was it. I never had frame drops after that, you know? And even I think they must do something in like boss fights and larger encounters. They must, like you're saying, like knock some settings down or do something, because I noticed the frame rate actually go up in those situations where you're in like a combat scenario. And so I don't really know what's going on under the hood, but I definitely noticed that where I'm like, oh, like it's all, you know, a little more responsive here. Which is nice because you kind of want that extra little oomph when you're, you know, fighting some of these bad guys. So that was cool. And then yeah, I think just the art design is like, it's realistic, but it's not too much detail. Like I don't feel like it's stylized just enough that I feel like I'm getting, you know, what I'm supposed to out of it. I also think the environments are pretty smartly designed. Like you're in a lot of, you know, smaller corridors. There's not a lot of need for a long draw distance. You know, there's a couple environments where you can kind of look out, you know, a ways, but for the most part, the game doesn't do that. And so the game doesn't need to worry about that. And I think that works here. And then, yeah, you kind of alluded to the sound design too. I think the sound design is awesome. I always knew where, you know, especially in that first big area, the healthcare center, like, you know, I knew where stuff was without having to look at it. I could kind of wait behind a corner and be like, okay, like he's moving. it's very well done. And these games have been like that for a long time, but I think it really comes together very well on this game. And on the Switch 2, you don't always get that experience. So
yeah,
I very much appreciate all of the bells and whistles they did manage to get into the Switch 2 version of this, because I have not played a game of this like visual caliber on a handheld before. I simply haven't.
I mean, that's a pretty big one to traverse that on. I mean, when we talk about the sound design though, like also just the noises from the different like zombies or you know what I mean? Like the singing ones and everything, and just them talking to themselves and like the things they'd be saying, and like how they'd showcase like maybe parts of their past lives between what they're doing and what they're saying, all that stuff. Like it was just so well thought out, and it was just so much more fun because of that, how much everything made sense. I do have to say though, and I feel like I was alluding to this when we were talking, but I really, that healthcare facility, Rhodes Hill, I had to Google it because I couldn't remember.
Okay, yeah.
I loved that part. I loved being there. That was very, very Resident Evil. Like that felt very familiar. And just how beautiful that scenery was, the floor when you go upstairs, and like the different, the wood, and how the light would kind of refract off the surfaces with the candlelight. And, I loved that. And when you think about how things should sound in a place like that too, there's a lot to be said there. It's like, it made sense how things sounded because of the surface of the floors and the walls and places that you were. And when we were talking about Chunk and how he introduced himself, I also just loved the cutscenes, the story made sense to me. And I think that was why it kind of kept inviting you in, like it kept you interested, because, just this different sets, like when you walk in that room and Gideon's there.
Yeah.
And Grace runs out, puts the chair in front of the door and runs around that corner, but she like opens the door real quick to trick him. Like that, it was good. It was thought out. It made sense. It was like, that was better than what you sometimes would see of just her, like just faking him out. And it's like, why wouldn't he look over there? Like I like that they thought through some of this. They were like, no, she should open that door to make the noise. He's going to see it and think, okay, she ran. And then just the way, they do the motion capture and like the thought put into that. And he yells her name and you can see her like flinch because of it. And she's hiding. Like, I love that kind of stuff when you can really feel like the tension and the emotion with the characters. I will say Grace was a little shaky all the time, but I mean, at the same time, time, like, when you really think about it, it's like she's going through a lot here, learning a lot about herself and her mom, and it's wild.
Well, and, I'd be curious to actually analyze it and see how much of it is kind of forced on you as a player. But like, I didn't ever get the impression in that area, but even in later areas, that like I had to follow a specific path. Like that moment you're describing, I felt like I just stumbled upon it.
Right.
I kind of feel like that area is pretty open when you think about it. Like it's not really gated by a whole lot. You can move around quite a bit right from the start. But I feel like it guides you just enough with different locked doors and enemies and things that like it probably, most players will probably have a similar experience. But I didn't feel that when I was playing it. I very much felt like I was exploring it the way I wanted to. And I think that really speaks to how these levels are designed.
It does. And that's important. That's a really good mention, because there are times in other Resident Evil games, which, and this doesn't bother me so much, but you're right. It feels better. It feels more free when you're not just in another room and you're going, I need a Scorpion key, or I need the whatever key.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm stuck here until I figure out this puzzle. No, you got to explore and find your way around. And you were kind of herded through events happening. Maybe it was a locked door, or, something blocking. It was thought out in that way. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, this game has those things like you're talking about. It has those little kind of puzzle. Find this relic, do that. But like, it just it never feels forced, and I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have talked a lot about this game thus far, and we've definitely mentioned some specifics here and there, but I feel like we have been kind of a little more hands-off than we might want to be. So I propose that kind of for the rest of our discussion here, we just let it out. We just talk spoilers, whatever you want.
Okay.
Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable, yeah.
All right. So we've talked about the gameplay differences between Grace and Leon.
Uh-huh.
I want to know how you feel about Grace and Leon as characters.
Mm.
Their journey through this game, because they both have, I think, pretty interesting journeys through this game. So do you have one that you like more, like as a person, whose story you maybe resonated better with?
It's really hard to say because we've had Leon for so long. So we've seen him through a lot of different arcs, and like we know that he has so much history, and we know what he's in it for. Like we understand what he's doing. I think the biggest thing that I was interested in is how they're going to introduce a character opposite him and make them just as interesting to play as, which, you know, I was more open-minded coming into this. I'm going to make a comparison to The Last of Us Part 2, because that game was also split up. I have to imagine that there was some inspiration there with like how this game played out with having two different characters, because that is, I mean, because I can't think of a lot of games where you do this or you do it this well. You know what I mean? Especially when you're kind of trying to tell a well thought out story. But Last of Us Part 2, I didn't want to play as Abby. We hate Abby. Abby hurt us. You know what I mean? Like, so that was tough. Grace, we didn't know Grace. We just were like, okay, so her mom, they were kind of like staying at these hotels. We didn't know at that time, like really anything. We're like, I don't really know what's going on. And I think pretty quickly it's because you can't just have a bunch of like wow moments happen and then expect your audience to be like, ooh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they did a good job with kind of the mystery of what's happening and using the environment to do some of the walking to kind of keep things moving. And, you know, the power goes out. They're running downstairs. You're chasing her mom and she gets murdered. And you're like, oh, okay. You know, and then she hides something. You're trying to like, so there's this just wonder of like what exactly is going on, but they do a good job at kind of grabbing you pretty quickly. And I think I like Grace's attitude. I like that she's not just this badass. You know what I mean? Like he gave her the Requiem and she wasn't just like, for sure. Like, and just like really owning it. Like she was fumbling with that thing. The kick threw her for a loop every time she fired it. Like, it was very realistic feeling. She was a desk jockey at her job. She wasn't a crime scene investigator. Like she's not used to being out in the field. She was scared. Like, I know I was just kind of saying like, she's always kind of shaky, but again, like we were getting into, like, there's a lot of backstory there. There's a lot of reason for her to feel that way. Yeah. And I think that as you move through the story, the story, to be honest with you, was okay. But I think if I had to poke at something, that would be, there's some area for opportunity there. I feel like, I did feel a little misled at certain parts, which is, you know, I'm not saying you can't mislead. There can be some red herrings, you know, I'm not down to be misled or not opposed to being misled, but it's just how it was done. I'm like, these clones, are they Grace? Who are they? Why are we doing this? You know, like, so in that kind of, you know, where we're sneaking around in the basement with the girl, I just kept thinking, I was like, I know we put Emily in this position. So like, we got to go down there and like get and grab her. But I'm also just thinking like, I really wonder what the payoff for this is going to be. You know what I mean? Like, what am I getting out of this exactly? And putting that aside, I'm just looking at Grace and saying like, it's good that she's willing to do this, but also what would the game do if she didn't? Like, you know, you kind of have to go down there. But I don't know. All this to say though, I think that Grace was an interesting character, and I like that they built her up with enough backstory and enough reason to be the way she is. They didn't just make her the scaredy cat, whatever. They did a good job at building a world around her and then making her a good contrast to Leon's character. And for survival horror, I mean, that yin yang that we got out of this was just awesome. Like that is like such a good, well-rounded way to approach this kind of game. And for that reason, I really enjoyed it. So as far as characters go, a long way of answering the question. I really enjoyed both of them. And I'm excited to see where we go with Grace next, honestly.
I am too. I hope we see more of her in a kind of central role again. You made the Last of Us comparison, which I think is great. But even there, you know, Ellie and
Abby,
thank you. I was blanking on her name. Play very similarly. There's some subtle differences, but they're very similar mechanically. And I think it can be hard when your characters are so different.
Yeah.
I feel like you're gonna really lean towards one or the other. And I think the fear here would be that you're gonna like playing as Leon and you're not gonna like playing as her. And I know this part really isn't about the mechanics of how they play, but I agree. They did a great job of balancing them. And I also think it was brave. Another thing you touched on, like keeping Grace grounded and afraid, like it, I think would have been easy to, by the end of the game, you know, she is this badass, she's brave, she's gotten over all these fears, and they chose not to do that, which I think is a much more realistic read on that character. Yeah. And so I do like that. And it makes moments like you're talking about, like going into the basement, more impactful because you know she doesn't want to do this. You know she's not prepared to do this.
Right.
So yeah, I think they did a great job with her. I think flipping the script on kind of what you expect out of both characters was also a good move, right? In Grace's case, you're told this whole time that she is this, you know, you're kind of, it's implied, and then you kind of find out directly that she is this important piece to this puzzle and they need her and you want to know why. And turns out she's not really at all, which is, I think, a great twist. And then on the other side, you have Leon, who is supposed to be this kind of powerful action hero, and he's dying the whole time. And so he kind of has this desperation that you don't always get out of action hero characters like that. And so I like that juxtaposition, because you said it's hard too when we've played as Leon. This is now the 4th game he's a playable character in. So like, you know, we know him. What are you going to do with him? That's interesting. And I do think they nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just glad they didn't change his personality. Like, they did such, I cannot remember if I mentioned this, but they aged him perfectly.
Yes.
You know, like they
more
really
mature, but yeah, he's still making those same quips, and like you see that personality shine through it. I love that.
You know, and he says some of the same stuff, like a lot of the callbacks a little tied up, you know. Yes, I loved it.
What about bad guys? It has a number of them.
Yeah.
You have a favorite?
Dude, Zeno.
Okay.
Like, fuck that guy, you know? Like,
See Wesker? I don't know. He
yes. No,
why
and
are
yes.
they not telling us that? Like,
is he a clone?
He would have to be, right?
He has to be a clone, or he's old as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, well, the other one, I believe we melted him in lava.
Well,
yeah.
Did we? Well, yeah, we did, but he has to be a clone. I don't know. But I didn't care for him. He was probably the most annoying of all of them. Like I think the introduction was cool. I was like, okay, wow, nice.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what power does this guy have? You know what I mean? Like, right. Not quite literally, but you know what I'm saying? Like, why are we because it was Gideon, right? I'm not misremembering.
Yeah, Victor Gideon is
the
scary doctor that you've seen in trailers and things.
Like that guy, you really telling me that guy's not gonna fuck this dude up? You know what I mean? Like, there's no power tension here. Like, I don't know. It's just that dynamic was odd to me. I understand that they're both just completely obsessed with Spencer, Oswald E. Spencer. Yeah.
Who gets a cool arc in this? You know, they haven't ever really done anything differently with him for 30 years, and his twist is cool.
Yeah, like you would never have thought. You know what I mean? He regrets.
I was shocked at that cutscene. I couldn't believe it.
Which did you have like this feeling that that they were wrong? Like in the last, like reading the notes that you would find around the laboratory and stuff. I started to be like, I think it's a cure.
Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't really getting that vibe. I wasn't really sure. But no, I don't feel like I was picking up on that.
Cause there were a couple, I'm trying to remember where, it was in the Rhodes Hill Care Center. Cause like, you got to remember some of these people, just normal people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They didn't know what exactly is going on. And it's like, they would talk about successful this, whatever that, like, you know, and showing progression and things being better. And there was almost like this like internal mystery of like what exactly was going on behind some of these other closed doors or whatever. Like, and that's cool to kind of see, you know, next to all the whole, like what we were joking about of just being like, yeah, at least his first day is today, and I got my gun stored with this safe upstairs. You know what I mean? Like it's fun to read other notes that aren't supposed to do anything outside of just kind of move the story along and kind of give you some back end that you're not, you know, that you're getting something out of. Sure. There were some specific rooms where they were just full of stuff like that, and it's like that's really fun to take the time to kind of see. What everybody has to say.
I'll have to look for that when I play it again. I'll have to really try to look at it through that lens because I was blindsided. I had no idea.
Well, see, it was that, and then just the whole like, you're my hope, you're my hope. I was like, okay,
yeah.
You know, like what's this is gonna be? And then they're like the password. I was like, it's hope.
Going back to Xeno for a second, I hope at some point we do maybe find something out about him. And honestly, I think it could be interesting if he is a clone of Wesker and he was experimented on, and kind of if he was this thing that we're kind of led to believe Grace is the whole time. I mean, that could be an interesting thing. I just not having it pay off here does kind of make it feel cheap. Like he just is gone at the end very quickly. And that's that, you know? So even if they do tell us that in some DLC or something, like, I don't know that it has the same impact as if we found it out here.
Yeah.
You know? But, who else we got? We have the commander, Hunk. That was when he pops out in that hallway, I was like, oh shit, we're doing this. That fight was annoying as fuck though.
Really?
I didn't care for it with like the smoke, and I didn't know where he was. And that was one of the fights in the game that I had the most trouble with for sure.
That was one of the cooler ones, I thought, to be honest. It was finally something a little bit different, you know?
Yeah.
More tactical. I enjoyed that. I thought it was a fun little mix. Honestly, like the whole back not the back half, the back quarter. The whole back quarter, that's kind of where I felt like I was on the upswing. I was having fun again, you know? Okay. Not to say that those middle parts, I know you had said you were enjoying where you're back in Raccoon City. I feel like that was a lot of fan service, just kind of showing us, you know, what kind of happened there, and obviously giving us a couple Leon flashbacks that were pretty emotional for him. Definitely. You know, so that was all very cool. I just felt like the gameplay in that area was a little more bleak. It just wasn't as exciting. The environment was kind of all very much the same tones. It kind of lost me a little bit there. But once we, you know, that back quarter though, we're back into a facility there. I can't remember the name of it now, but
I have Arc in my notes.
Arc, that underground facility. Yeah. That's again where things started to get more interesting to me. And like we're on that final stretch, Grace is just like done, just gives up, is like fine, and goes with them. Yeah. You know, I'm just like, what is going to happen now? Like, where are we going with this? And that was very fun. They got the liquors. We got a new enemy type. Yeah. I enjoyed that. That was another, I think, like visually appealing. I did read online. Yeah. I don't know that was a super popular opinion. I think a lot of people are like, great, another whitewashed medical facility.
I mean, these games often you end up in something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, I will say, don't misunderstand me here. I liked that area, but it is probably my least favorite area of the game.
Oh.
I like the care center. I like Raccoon City. I mean, we're skating over one very cool villain, Mr. X.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
don't, they explain it away later, but when he shows up, I'm like, how are we even doing this? Like,
yeah,
but it was awesome. And it didn't, I wish we could have got more time with him chasing us.
Yeah.
Like in Resident Evil 2, but like, I don't know. The fight was satisfying at least. So
dude, I lost all my resources in that fight.
Sure.
I was not parrying correctly when fighting him.
Yeah.
And dude, I emptied everything. I was like, no way. So after that, I was like, I was pretty scarce there. Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do I got here? What about like performances? Like of these various characters we're talking about, like, do any stand out for you? Or any particularly bad?
Like the actors for the characters?
Yeah.
I liked Victor Gideon a lot.
I did too. He was creepy.
He was creepy.
He sold it.
He really sold it. The very specifically, and I feel like again this might be a popular scene, but when he's got Leon in the chair and he's interrogating him and he's being all weird, and you see his tongue, like I really liked him. He had they did a good job selecting somebody that had an interesting voice, or at least knew how to have an interesting voice. So I really liked that. And even from the beginning, his motive was just, I don't know, it caught my interest. There was a point where, when you start talking about his master and he got all weird, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know you were a bootlicker too, Sure. Okay. Sure. I thought you were kind of powerful on your own. You don't need to do it because of what you think this guy.
Yeah. So like that was an interesting turn. You're right. That did feel kind of sudden.
It did, because he seemed very much, I'm not saying he needs to operate on his own, but he seemed interested for his own self, like value, like he wanted it. And then you kind of find out that he's doing it to finish Spencer's work. And it's like, I mean, like you can want that too, but like, I don't know, there's that dynamic I didn't care for as much. He seemed a lot scarier to me when he operated like what it seemed like on his own volition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that.
But I have to say, for all the characters, at least for like the baddies in this game, like I would have to say he was probably my favorite one, which not like there's a million to choose from, but as far as like showmanship goes, I enjoyed that. I also think it's just so funny when you have a villain and you're like, they make a cosmetic choice. So like this guy, snakeskin. Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. I know. You really went hard in the paint here. I think talking about Gideon is probably a good spot to ask you about the ending of the game.
Yeah.
We texted a little bit after you finished it. You're given a choice at the end of the game, of course, to either destroy or release Elpis. And I don't know. I maybe made the wrong choice initially. I was a little curious. I wanted to see both of them anyway. But that first ending, that you destroy Elpis, you get the bad ending. It's just over very quick. Did you go back and watch it?
I did go back and watch on YouTube the bad ending, because honestly, I don't think I would have if I didn't text you. I wouldn't have thought about it.
That's why I mentioned it, because I wanted to make sure that if you didn't see that, you did, because I did this and it just kind of ends and it's very quick. Like you make the decision, there's a short cutscene and then it's over. And I was like, like that wasn't a great ending. And then the game asks you, like, do you want to do it again? It doesn't tell you should. Mm-hmm. It probably should do that, because you definitely should. But then I go back, I instead choose to release Elpis, and you get a crazy ending with cutscenes and a final boss fight that I thought was pretty cool. Not the most revolutionary boss fight in the world. It's stuff we've seen before, but it comes together. It fits the character. So I thought that was cool. How did you feel about the ending? You obviously made the right choice right from the get-go.
I did. I made the right choice. And I would like to say I avoided spoilers pretty heavily.
I did too. Yeah, I didn't know where things were going.
I was afraid to know too much, especially because, we slowed down and enjoyed the game a little bit longer. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was tough. And there were some close calls, but I actually really liked the ending. I think it's cool to have closure on a lot of stuff. Like, I think it's cool to have introduced just the end of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make way for something new, you know, because we've been doing the same thing for Resident Evil for a long time.
Yeah.
At least it feels that way. And it's cool to finally just wrap that up so we can kind of move forward. But not just for that, you can't rush it, you know. So having, like you were kind of getting to, having to come to find out that, you know, Oswald E. Spencer. I feel like I have to say his full name. Like, I'm like, I don't know why. I have to address him by his full name.
Yeah. I don't even have the E in my notes.
Oswald E. Spencer. Okay. I feel like having his arc, like that is when I was. That's what I was saying. I was like, I cannot believe that they went this route. Like, that's very cool.
Yeah.
And when it came up to making the decision of if you're destroying Elpis or releasing Elpis, it's just from the beginning, like we were saying, have just like Grace's mom. I keep forgetting Alyssa Ashcroft, having her hide that thing, and then you're kind of trying to figure out what it is. And I hate that I'm this way, but I forget small details. If it's been a second, I should refresh myself having this wrap up here. And then you watch the tape, you watch it, and you learn. I think it was about how Grace, you know, about her not being Alyssa's actual daughter. And you get that kind of background story. It's just all that, and the hope, you're my hope. And then Alyssa Ashcroft was close to Oswald. Like, it's like, it started to reek of like, something's happening here. It's not what we think. And then and they're really pushing. They're like, they're going to release it. And you're like, okay, you know, I don't know. And then, like I had said, some of the context clues, and I have got to look up the name. There was one room, I can see it in my head in particular, that I remember reading something that set me on the path where I was like, something's up.
Okay.
It was, gosh, man, I have got to find like a snippet of this room, but I remember it very, very distinctly. So I know I could point it out, but I remember reading a note in this room and being like, this is not what I think it is. I don't think, but it didn't quite, I wasn't quite there though. I didn't know yet, you know?
Okay.
Now I'm just tangenting, but I loved it. I really did. Because it's not what you would expect. I knew there was going to be a twist. There's always a twist. I just didn't know what the twist was going to be. Yeah. And since I had this hunch of Elpis isn't what I think it is, or maybe it's not.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was the twist because I'm not used to catching on to it. You know, the writing's usually the writing was good, but the writing is usually so good that I'm like, okay, well, they're leaving behind some good solid clues about this. So like, what is going to happen? And honestly, that's kind of where I started to look at the story, like I was saying earlier, and I got a little bit more critical. Like, that's when I was thinking, like, is the twist supposed to be that Grace isn't special? And I'm like, that doesn't feel like a huge payoff to me. The Elpis thing feels like more of a twist than that, but I kind of figured that out a little bit, I think. And then it turns out I did. So when I kind of reflected on it, I'm like, I feel like there should have been something else, and I don't really know what that was, or there was something else, and maybe it's just not what I thought it was, or it wasn't as big as they thought it was going to be for us. You know, but either way, I think just the whole, like the Spencer stuff, like that did it for me. Honestly, that's what kind of wrapped up for me.
I like that thread, and I'm glad they went with it. And kind of like you're saying, I like that you're set up to believe that, you know, this Elpis thing is going to kind of change the status quo. And you kind of assume it's going to change things one way. And then by the end, it does change things quite a bit. But you're right. It's an exciting new thing. You know, it'll be interesting to see where they go next. But you kind of touched on one of these. But I was going to ask you, we've talked a lot of positives about this game. Do you have any other criticisms? Anything that really stuck out to you?
I mean, I have one that immediately I think of, but I'm trying to think of a different one. But I didn't really care for the like, I know playing in third person they had to do something, but they didn't have to make her stumble so bad. You know, that was a little wild.
Okay, sure.
Okay. But it's and Grace was just so fucking slow, dude. Like,
yeah, a little bit.
You know, I understand that she's not exactly outrunning track, but it's like, I know Leon is this powerhouse and he moves quick and whatever, but it's like, there's another part of being scared, and it's probably being fast. You know what I mean? Like, Grace, if she wants to move, she should be able to move. You know, they could have made her a little faster. And like, if that offsets the speed of everything else, then make everyone else a little faster too. That's fine. But like, I just felt like I was moving at a snail's pace sometimes when I was trying to get away from something. And I know, again, that's just horror, and maybe that was more scary, but it didn't feel realistic to me with that way, you know?
Yeah.
But other criticisms outside of those small pieces with the story, I can't really say I have too many. Like we said, the level design was very good. I did think it was, I don't know if this is really a criticism, but like Emily surviving and then you like adopt her. You know,
when she was like, let's see if she's alive, I just looked at Colleen and I was like, I mean, no way. You're setting yourself up for disappointment because we shot her in the head.
Well, like, you didn't hit any vitals, and then like, I know there's tons of jokes about this online which are so funny, but like, you like very clearly like the game tries to stop you, but you kind of did. You know what
I mean? Yeah. I mean, that's actually, if there is one criticism I have, it is overall, I think the boss fights are a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
I talked about Mr. X. I talked about Gideon. But yeah, the girl I felt like was, you know, I'm not doing a ton here. Like, I like when you are in the facility and you have to avoid her. That's cool. But when you actually fight her and kill her, I don't know. That was a little underwhelming. Then you fight a big spider.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That was out of nowhere. I know, that got me too. That was like at the end of one of my night play sessions.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are we doing? Like, what I get it, but I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like, I didn't need that, because it didn't feel like a boss fight to me. I was like, are we done with this? Are we done here? Like, I'm trying to get out of this building. This is stupid, you know?
Yeah. You fight a big plant.
Yeah.
Which again, it's something we've done before. It wasn't awful, but there is one that like I wanted to like more than I did. It was almost there. And it's, you know, when you're up on the rooftop and you are sniping and Grace and Emily are down there and you have to protect them.
Yeah.
That sequence is very cool, right?
Yeah.
You're moving along with them and doing all that. And then you fight that big guy after that in the like burning building. That place was so cramped.
Yeah.
That like I feel like they were trying to evoke that when you fight the mayor in Resident Evil 4 and you're in that burning barn and he's swinging around and getting you. I feel like they were trying to evoke that, but like it just didn't really, I don't know, didn't capture it for me.
I think you're right with the boss fights. I did enjoy the fight with the girl though. I thought that was fun with the roof and the light coming through. Like, I thought that was cool, and the payoff was nice. I think just they really let off with the demo that the girl stuff was going to be a little heavier. And they're like, the AI used for the girl coming out of the ceiling is going to remember where you were hiding. Like, I was like, man, I can't wait to see where this goes. And then you kind of find that you're like, I still know what to do. You know, like, and then there's all these tricks of like, you can not kick the cart, but you can like move the cart in one go, and she kicks the cart, gets it in the spot where you can get up top, grab the screwdriver. Like, I don't know, like especially going back, I'm like, now I know really what to expect here, and the whole, you know, how the enemy positioning works and all that stuff. Like, it just wasn't as crazy as I was hoping it would be. I thought that was going to be way more drawn out, and obviously we get her in the basement again, but it's like, it was pretty easy down there. It was definitely high tension, and you weren't really sure. And I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm moving slow, but I move cautiously through areas like that. I've played Resident Evil. I know what I'm doing, but it's like, you know, like you go through an area and you're like, the only way back is through this hole. I'm like, I'm getting fucked up in this hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to that point, I did, and you did. You know what I mean? I predicted that. I knew it was going to happen. It's very predictable, and because of that, I feel like those areas are much easier than you're hoping that they are.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm kind of trying to tie that into your boss fight thing. It's like, I just wish that they utilized her more, because it could have been a little bit more. I would have minded if she was like if the power had gone out in other areas of the healthcare facility and she came through there, I would have loved that. Like you're dealing with the other enemies, which I know you do in the basement again, but you're dealing with the other enemies. And then, oh man, the power goes out. You hear coming, like, and you're like, fuck, oh my God. Now you're doing, it's like a whole nother level of resource management. You know, you need to be prepared for these blister heads, but at the same time, the girl could come out of nowhere if you make too much noise or if you do something like that. Like, I was kind of hoping for something a little more intuitive in that way. And I was really, my expectations for the girl were also so high, you know, so.
Okay.
You know, I was kind of waiting for that payoff. And when you got rid of her, I'm like, okay, well, I wonder what's next, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to spend too much time on this question because I think I know the answer. And that is whether or not we recommend this game. I think that's an easy recommend. But probably a more important question is, let's compare this to the rest of the Resident Evil series. Where does this rank for you? Is this the best Resident Evil?
You know, I feel a little ashamed with this one, but
okay,
I can't put it as the best.
Okay,
but I want to.
That's where I'm at.
Like, because it's like, do I rank this in terms of, you know, because it's this game could only be good because the games that came before it were so good.
That's true. It draws a lot from those.
And the story can only be so good again because they're building upon that. So it's like we got a lot from the older game. What do you think?
That's actually a really good way to put it. You know, I talked about it already. Resident Evil 4 is my favorite. I like that style the most. Kind of in both directions. I like the way that they did it in the 2 remake, which is more survival horror, and I don't mind how actiony 5 gets. 6, of course, is off the rails, but like, I do. I think this one does such a good job of making that specifically the survival horror stuff that I don't always resonate as much with. I enjoyed, more so than I did in the original Resident Evil, for example. And I, of course, haven't spent so much time with 7 and 8 as much as I should, but I think there's a reason for that. I think it just never kind of appealed to me in the same way, and those grace sections did work. And so I give it a lot of credit for that. But yeah, it's hard to compare it to a game I've played a dozen times, in Resident Evil 4. But I do. I think it's a contender. I think it's a strong second.
Yeah.
And who knows? After this is a game I want to replay. That's actually a question I didn't really ask you about, is kind of the value of this game, the replayability. You've already started a second playthrough. I'm talking about wanting to do it. I love that the game incentivizes you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I hope that's the experience most people have. But maybe my experience will be different. A couple more playthroughs under my belt, but I'm gonna say it's a solid second, which is not a small feat.
I see. The thing is like, I want it to be, I think it offers an experience that the other games don't. And for that reason, I want to say, like, what a great, I was going to say again, what a great entry to the series if you haven't played, but at the same time, how confusing if you don't know, if you don't know what's going on, it's hard. But so for me, I talk a lot about the Ethan Winters games, and that I love those games, but I cannot say that they're my favorite Resident Evil games. I love Biohazard though. I love that game.
And by all accounts, it's a worthy a worthy number one. People love that game. I get it.
That's a fantastic game. And then right behind, well, not even behind that, but right next to it, we'll say, because I don't want to rank them, Resident Evil 2 is probably the remake. I loved the Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yeah, I mean, they killed it.
They killed it. And of course, that's Leon's first story with Resident Evil. And seeing his origin story is very fun. I feel like now, especially because we know how important he becomes and kind of what he does for the whole series.
Yeah.
But I mean, that I feel like Resident Evil 2 is where they started to kind of figure out, well, of course, you know, after the first one, they started to figure out kind of where they were headed with the series, what they wanted to do, and kind of what Resident Evil was more about. And you really got that whole, I mean, it's always been, there was a lot of tension in the first one, but I mean, expanding upon the lore and building the story, it just was so good. And it's for that reason, like, the thing is that overall, this game, the way that it balanced the survival horror and the action, I think is better than the other. I would rank it so high. I would almost put it in that number one spot because I want to be scared. Am I as scared in Resident Evil 2? Not really.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, not really. Biohazard, yeah, that was a pretty scary game at some parts. You know, you're helpless Ethan Winters at first. Which, like, I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm still laughing about it. I was reading some forum about basically this, how people felt about Ethan Winters versus the Leon S. Kennedy sagas, you know. And this guy was like, "Don't you talk poorly about Ethan, walk him down, Winters." And I mean, they're right. That dude, you know, it goes from like helpless dad to, helpless boyfriend to helpless dad to, well, dead kind of. Well, mostly. And I don't know, to get back on track, I want to say I would put this right up in my number one, number two for just the gameplay because of how well it does that yin yang. Like that I haven't experienced that as highly as I have in this particular game. Right underneath it, I would have to say Resident Evil 2 next to Biohazard. I don't know, man. It's so hard for me to rank these games. This is ridiculous.
I think you're onto something there. I think if someone were to ask me, you know, I've never played Resident Evil before, what encapsulates Resident Evil? It's this. Like, you know, you're getting both sides of that gameplay. It's blended so well. It's done well on both ends of the spectrum too. It's, you know, I think it's some of the best survival horror gameplay the series has done. I think it's some of the best action the series has done.
Yeah.
I do. I think the only thing holding it back, if I were to suggest it to a new player, is that the story payoff, I think, means a lot more if you have played other games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of what makes Biohazard a good entry point. I think that's part of what makes Resident Evil 4 a good entry point, is that they are kind of on islands, you know, and this one is not. This one does kind of require you to know some of the lore. It doesn't require you. You'll enjoy it, but you get more out of it with that knowledge, for sure.
It just matters on what you're chasing after. If you want to play a scary game, but you want to have some action, I would put this at number one. If you're looking for something that's more action and does introduce, because I mean, Resident Evil 2, like I said, is Leon's first entry. So like you are experiencing someone going through this for the first time. And because of that, they do try to scare you. I would put that at number two. You know, if you want something that's way more horror, Biohazard, you know, it'd steer you that way. Like that's kind of what I think is so unique about Resident Evil, is it's becoming this buffet of experiences where you can say, like, do you want to be more scared? Or do you want to have more action? Like, what do you want to do? Yeah. We've got something here you can choose from. And I like that. I think that's interesting, you know.
I mean, since 2017, they've just been killing it with Biohazard and then like the remakes. And I know Village isn't received as well as some of the other games, but I mean, people still really enjoyed it. I think the remake of 3 is kind of in a similar boat. It's not a bad game. It's just not 2 and 4, which are incredible. And now you've got this to kind of cap it off. And we're hopefully going to, you know, maybe get a Mercenaries mode pretty soon. More DLC down the line. I don't know. I'm excited both to see what we get next in this game, what we get next as a remake, and years from now, what we get as a new Resident Evil. I think this gives me not hope. I had hope, for the series, but it's hope. Like it feels good to be a Resident Evil fan.
You are my hope. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But no, I don't know how, as a fan of the series, as a fan of the genre, you could not enjoy this game. I think you're gonna have a good time. Definitely. And as a Switch 2 owner, if you were looking for something to play, highly recommend it. Easily one of the best pieces of software you can play on your Switch 2, both new and old, for sure.
100%.
But that was a good old long Resident Evil Requiem talk. I don't have anything else to say about it. Do you?
I hope not. I'm hoping I got it all out in the first little part here. Of course, that was the one that I got Zeused. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, the people are probably getting a longer episode out of it because of that. Yeah, we spent 20 or so minutes on it before. We spent about an hour on it now. So enjoy. We did this for you. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you felt about this episode of Podcast with Power, how you feel about Resident Evil Requiem, maybe the Resident Evil series as a whole. What are your favorite games? Does this one stack up to those games? Follow us on social media at Pod with Power. All the social links you need are in the description. And until next time, I'm Zachary Davis, and that's Jordan Carlson. Bye-bye.
Bye.